Hi friends, it's Kelly. Thanks so much for being here. This is what we're going to walk through making the Silhouette Cameo. I have a Cameo 3 and it's my layout for this week for Paige Taylor Evans made with Splendid. And we're going to start by making the border. And I've used Paige's Scallop Borders 253003, available in the Silhouette Design Studio. And I chose the lowest border here, and what I want to do first is release the compound path and remove the dots at each end, and then make it a compound path and copy it 4 times, one for each side of it. Kind of makes a frame. So I turned on the grid, and I'm just going to make the lines a little darker so it's easier for you to see. So using the rotate button or tool, you can easily rotate them for the correct direction. And actually I'm going to use the flip vertically just to flip that upside down, and then flip at 180 degrees to have one on the right side. So let's zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing in the corners. I want the corners to meet at a 90-degree angle, and I don't want any of the adjacent border to hang over the edge. So you can see those corners are on the inside, and so you just move with your up and down, back and forth keys, and that allows you to gently put them in place. If you hear any noise in the background, it's rain. It's been raining here all day, and my voice is a little hoarse. I apologize. So I'm going to select them all together and weld them. So that's modify, weld. And you can see what it's done in the corners. It's taken out the cut lines and just welded them neatly all together. So this is why we took out the circles on either end of the border, so that you could go and manually place them back in the corner just to continue the border, from end to end. So you just want to line it up with the left side and the top border, the right side and the top border, and do the same on the bottom. So now what I want to do is make my scallop border a little bit smaller. I'm going to make it 11 by 11 using the transform tool, because I want my Splendid paper that I'm using underneath to show a nice big border. And I'm going to make the inside square you see there 9 by 9. And it's not going to be a cut line. I'll just center them both. It's going to be a dotted line drawn with a pencil. 9.25 I decided on, sorry. There we go. I'm going to change it to a stitching line. So I'm changing it into dashes, and I'm going to change the color to green. Make it a little brighter so you can see it. And there we go. So far we've made a scallop border background using Paige's border cut file and added some stitch lines that I will make with a pencil. So I've actually purchased the AC Digital collection for Splendid. So I actually have the paper and all the ephemera that I've stored in a file in the Silhouette Design Studio. So I can bring in my chosen paper and lay it behind the scallop border to get a good idea of what it's going to look like. And I'm going to draw also some stitching lines that will mimic the swipes of my paintbrush. And if you've already watched my process video, you know what that's all about. So I'm using the draw tool, and I'm just making turns. And the nice thing about using the Silhouette Design Studio for this is I can erase a line that I don't like how it came out. I can flip it, rotate it, move it, and so I don't have to get out an eraser on my background and do erasing, draw it over, that kind of thing. So I really prefer doing it this way. I kind of have an idea of how wide it needs to be, and so I'm going to right size it and group it and copy it 3 times. So it's Command C, Command V on your computer. And I'm going to use the color tool there to actually color them the color that I'm going to be stitching. I'll make it a little darker so that you can see them on my background. So we're going to move on to the paintbrush, and I've copied it a couple of times, Command C, Command V, released the compound path, and moved some of the pieces out of the brush, the bristles, the bar, and the handle. And the brush that's on the mat on the right, that's going to be cut out of white AC cardstock just to back the entire brush once the pattern paper has been put in place. Now I only want to offset the handle and not the circle in the handle, so I've released the compound path and used the offset tool, and that'll just offset the handle. And then I'm going to drag away the inner piece, which is smaller, leaving me with the offset and the circle. And that will back the handle in the cut file. So let's put them back together, make a compound path. And I'm going to do the same with the bristles and the bars, which I cut out of gold. Let's just change it to a color so you can see it. We'll use mauve because I did make a mauve brush for my layout. So if we put it over top, you can see that's going to fit nicely. Let's move it behind, arrange, send back. And so when we cut that out and glue it to the back of our cut file, it will fit perfectly. I'm going to do the same with the bars. I'm going to select them together and offset them. And depending on the size of the item you're offsetting, your offset will change in small amounts. So you'll just, if you're not, super practiced with this, you'll just have to try it a couple times. You can always use your back arrow to go back if it's not the right size. And in this case, it was a little bit too wide, and so I'm just going to adjust it slightly so that when I cut it out of gold paper, it fits nicely behind the cut file. And that looks good right there. So let's send that one to the back. And I've cut the bristles out of white watercolor paper because I did some mixed media on the bristles to sort of mimic them painting. And so I offset it and drag the centerpiece out. We can just delete that and move the bristles behind the brush so you can see how it will fit once we've cut it out and placed it behind our brush. And there you go. That's how I made all the backing pieces for the paintbrush. And I'll just show you also how I laid it on a white 12 by 12, all the pieces that I wanted to cut from white, so that it would fit. So thanks so much for being here. If you have any questions, please leave them in comments. Likes and subscribe are appreciated. And this is how I laid it out on a 12 by 12 piece of AC cardstock. The cut files, the backing, the rings, and the bars. Here comes some close-ups. See you again soon. Bye-bye.